The terrors of Chinese white spirits for visiting businessmen and diplomats. William Hovey Smith, 2015. I'm the author of Backyard Deer Hunting, and as cooks, we get to sample some pretty strange stuff sometimes. This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman, and today I'd like to talk to you about the terrors of Chinese white spirits. This is a particularly vile, evil, disgusting, and terrible distilled spirits. And the Chinese make it with great care. And it is the worst distilled material I've ever drank in my life. And that includes some really terrible stuff. But what the Chinese do is, if you are in a trade delegation and you do negotiations, they have a series of toasts. Now, this is also true in Russia and in Japan. And when you go, you are supposed to toast your host, and they toast you back, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And they do this with this white spirits. This stuff, the mild version is 100 proof. The extra strength version is 150 proof. Burp. Now, if you have a polite host, they will serve you in a little glass, like a miniature wine glass you might use in a dollhouse, that holds about a thimble or two full. Quite frankly, that's quite enough for anybody. But in northern China, they will pour you half a water glass of this junk. Brr! Yeah. And they use it as part of their business strategy. In effect, they get you good and roaring drunk, and you'll agree to just about anything. Okay? And this is basically what happened to Nixon in China. He was reported being drunk. Well, this is the stuff that did it, very likely. As well as President Bush in Japan. Now, he wasn't drinking this, and President Bush reputedly had an intestinal flu, which caused him to throw up over the Japanese Prime Minister. But if you want to avoid a similar embarrassment, beware of this stuff. Now, it is produced with great care and at great cost in China. This bottle, for example, sold in China for about $60 US. Ooh. It is very carefully packaged in an ornate box with a cover, silk on the background, gold-braided cord, and all of this kind of good stuff. And it is white liquor, just as advertised. And I'm fittingly pouring it here in a container from a presidential library. This happens to be the Jefferson Davis Presidential Library, by the way. And it is very white indeed. It is absolutely clear. It beads on the surface. Yeah. Now, what does this stuff taste like? It takes real skill to put such terrible taste in a distilled spirit. And it tastes strongly of bamboo, and as if you had the finest grade light machining oil used for drilling very hard steels, and you put it in a large galvanized tank filled with used diesel engines, and let it carefully mature there for a few months, then drained it off and filtered it and bottled it. And that's about what this stuff tastes like. It is terrible. Well, how did I use it? When I went to China, I was an unknown guy from a small central Georgia town at an international convention. And I was there to promote my activities and make an impression, which I did. One of the methods I used in my guerrilla marketing technique, which I'll go into in another video, is to carry this around and serve it in the hotel restaurant to anybody who wanted a sip. And I mean a sip, just a couple of drops in a tablespoon is sufficient, by the way. It is foul. I had no one who disagreed very strongly with my definition of what it tasted like. As a matter of fact, I served something like 30 people from this bottle, and it's not empty yet. I still have about yay much left. Then I brought it back home to Georgia, where I immediately went to a meeting of GOWA, Georgia Outdoor Writers Association, and there served it again, and telling people exactly what it tasted and smelled like. And again, I had no serious disagreement. Yeah, this was terrible stuff. And these people had tasted some of the worst moonshine ever made. And only one, Polly Dean, was courageous enough to take a second sip to see if she could nuance out some of the flavors. Ben Baker asked her why. It was so terrible. Why would you want to know what degree of terribleness it were? So, if you serve this stuff, if you're in a trade delegation in China and you see this brought out with great ceremony, it can be in a variety of different bottles and shapes. There are several people who produce it. Be very, very cautious indeed. Be very cautious about how you drink it. The smell is very distinctive. It just a whiff. Putrid fruit, maybe? Something definitely off-colored, something definitely off-taste. And the taste is just absolutely wretched. Nonetheless, they expect you to consume some of this stuff. So be cautious and drink as little as you can possibly get away with, because it is potent and it'll set you on your butt. Now, before I'd had this, I had never conceived of anything quite so terrible. I did have an ad that ran in my radio show of a fictional product called Puke Vodka. And that ad went something like this. This episode is brought to you by Sin Incorporated, Synthetic Industrial Non-Nutritives Inc. The industrial gas division of Sin is now pleased to announce that their flagship product, Puke Vodka, is now available not only in tankers and in railroad cars and 55-gallon drums, but also in 5-gallon pails for home delivery in either the high solid or the low solid version. Now, Puke Vodka has all of the flavors, colors, and smells associated with the name. There's no sense in wasting time in your drinking experience if you're going to wind up the night worshiping at the porcelain throne. So, with Puke Vodka, you eliminate all these intermediate steps and get straight down to the heart of the matter and have the full enjoyment of your drinking experience from the outset. Remember, for quick results, Puke Vodka from Sin. And that was my ad. And I thought that was pretty bad. This is worse. Yuck. So if you go to China and you see something like this, or the bottle may be differently shaped and whatever, brought out, and you whiff it and ew, it smells like a cat that's been more than a week dead, be very, very cautious. Associated with the conference was a trade show from the state of Hunan, and of course, what else would they have but also some more of their Chinese white spirits. But now, this is Hovey Smith reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe. Goodbye, God bless, and see you next time. I did have some decent things to drink in China. Among them was some very fine Chinese teas, such as shown here. Now here's the nameplate from the conference. Now at the conference I also introduced my book, Ideas for New Businesses. And here is a little blurb about it. I also did a presentation, Finding the Creatives Within Your Corporation or Country. This is part of my activities concerning my release of my new Profit Series books, which will be out in forthcoming decades. I have another video on the theme of spirits, which is Strange Spirits I Have Known, that you can view on YouTube. For more information on my books, blogs, and more than 400 videos, you can go to my website, www.hoviesmith.com. Good business and good luck. Goodbye and God bless.